Alright. Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Alright. Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Okay. First and foremost, I would like to welcome you all to our webinar today, and thank you for spending your time for being here. So I hope everyone is doing great, staying safe and enjoying the start of 2022. So before we going with the session this afternoon, let me introduce myself. I am Zul Imizan bin Nasiruddin, the student of UniKL Business School, which is majoring in tourism planning and development. So I will be moderating today's session. Okay, now let us bless today's program with doa recitation. Auzubillahi minasyaitonir Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Allahumma antas salam wa minkas salam wa alayka ya'udus salam. Hayna rabbana bisalam ya salamu salimna ajmaina wa aj'alna min ibadikas solihin. On this glorious day, in conjunction with the opening ceremony of this event, we uphold our hands to pray gratefully to thank on your infinite favor to us till we can live in peace and harmony to perform our task as your servants. Ya Allah, we ask your blessing to make this occasion in success. Amin ya rabbal alamin. May Allah bless all of us. Before we begin our session, I would like to invite Siti Nazliatul Husni to give a welcoming remark. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Siti Nazliatul Husni binti Abdul Aziz. I'm the event manager for this webinar. On behalf of UniKL Business School and my team, I'm honored to welcome everyone, especially our key speaker, a very prominent individual in this industry, Professor Ahmad Puat, for spending his time today. Also, together with us is TPR Dr. Jamil Jusuf, who will share his experience and knowledge. We are looking forward for your sharing. Thank you.
Thank you for this short and sweet speech, Husni. So today we will be discussing on how to sustain the tourism industry, which is particularly on Islamic tourism. No, now more than ever, the industry is in need of a new strategy to remain relevant and fresh following the ongoing pandemic of COVID-19. Therefore, it is indeed very exciting to learn about today webinar topic, positioning tourism for the future, which is the emergence of Islamic tourism. So, I begin with the we are lucky to have expert in the tourism industry, Professor Dr. Ahmad Puat bin Maksum, and invited guests. Please allow me to share briefly about his background. Professor Puat is specialized in tourism planning and development at development studies, sustainable tourism, community-based tourism, crisis management, and Muslim-friendly tourism. He obtained his degree in Bachelor's Science in Community Regional, Iowa State University, USA, Master in Business Administration from University of Lincolnshire and Humberside, UK, and PhD in Tourism from University of Strathclyde, Glasgow, UK. So currently, Professor Puat is the Dean of Graduate School in University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Malaysia. Professor Puat, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Saudara Zul Irmizan and Siti Nazliatul Husni. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon to all the audience, especially from UniKL. And first and foremost, I would like to extend my appreciation to UniKL especially from the tourism school, for inviting me to share my a bit of experience and knowledge in Islamic tourism, and especially to my my buddy TPR Dr. Jamil Juso. Okay, can I share my slide? So how do I move? Okay. Okay, the topic that I will be sharing with you today is about positioning tourism for the future, especially our country has been battling with this COVID-19, and and for the past 2 years, since early 2020 until 2021, we have been suffering from the decline of tourist arrival, not only in Malaysia but in the region, Southeast Asia, and especially at the global level. And it has been the first time in the modern history that tourism industry has been badly affected by crisis. In the past, we have crises of different typology that have been affecting the tourism industry. Malaysia was relatively seen as a stable country in the region as compared to Indonesia and Philippines. But as of now, we have noticed that crises have been recurrent. They occur more often as compared to the past. And at the time, we have been recovering. We have been slowly recovering from pandemic. Now we just got another flood disaster that have affected different states in the country. So it's time for the tourism industry to rejuvenate in the wake of these different crises and disasters. And one of it is that the emergence of Islamic tourism. So I'll share with you, although this is just a synopsis to the students or the audience about what is Islamic tourism. But I would like to share with you that maybe for a good promotion and to create awareness among the audience, that my university, University Sultan Zainal Abidin, located in Kuala Terengganu in the east coast of Malaysia, will be offering a new degree program which is called Bachelor in Islamic Tourism. So that will be the first degree in Islamic tourism to be offered by any higher education institution, not only in Malaysia but also in the world. So it will be the first in Malaysia and the first in the world. And just to share with you, perhaps that um, um, like Islamic tourism, we can see now as a niche, but it will be growing as a mainstream tourism in the future. Similar to what happened in the past, like in the 1970s, when Islamic finance, Islamic banking and insurance, takaful insurance, were introduced in Malaysia, and Malaysia were always in the forefront of this sector. Initially, even the Muslim community were a bit reserved about this, but now it has become mainstream, and it has been accepted not only by the Muslim communities but also among the non-Muslim communities. So when talking about Islamic tourism from the tourism perspective, if you read about literature, it also it started from the Association of Tourism and Religion, because Islamic tourism, actually the main concept come from the religion. And you notice that tourists travel for different purposes, different objectives, different travel motivation. You can travel for business purposes, for leisure, for sports, and for adventure, and so on. But one of the reason for travel is also for religious purposes, whether they are Muslim, whether they are Hindus, whether they are Buddhists, whether they are Christian, or whether they are Jews. So when you see from the literature that although the literature about Islamic tourism is very new, not even 20 years in the academic literature, that Islamic tourism has been debated and has been written and discussed in academic context. But religious tourism has existed since antiquity. What does this mean? That mean antiquity, but since long time ago. because in the past we noticed that people travel for religious purposes, for pilgrimage, for missionary, for including leisure purposes. And you notice that in the past, those Arab traders in the 14th century, when they started doing the trading between Arab countries and Southeast Asia and to China, and they stopped in Malacca, for example, in Peninsular Malaysia, Indonesia. So they always have like this religious motivation as well. In addition to doing trading, but they also came to spread religion. That's how during that time, Islam spread from Arab countries to Southeast Asia and to different parts of the world, to Africa and to Central Asia, and even to China and as well. And you notice here, for example, when you are talking about religious tourism, it's about representation of tourism spaces which combines secular and spiritual meanings, which means that there are some spiritual activities that we engage in addition to those secular activity. Secular means that it has nothing to do with religion. So if you read in Quran, there have been a number of verses that actually talk that actually relate about travel. For example, this Surah Al-Rum, um, Surah 29, verse 20, it says that travel through the land and observe how He began creation. Then Allah will produce the final creation. Indeed, Allah over other things is competent. That's why we are very much encouraged to travel, to look around, to discover different continent, different countries, so that by traveling to different parts, we not only learn the different cultures, the different religion, way of life, but at the same time we can observe the the creation of Allah. I mean, there are abundance of them, bountiful, very beautiful. I mean, for example, like we in Malaysia, we are very much in tropical climate. But when you go now to the northern hemisphere, for example, you notice that the environment is different. It's very cold and so on. That's why we are actually encouraged to travel. Although now we are being restricted because of this travel restriction due to the COVID. Hopefully that this 2020 will offer a greener light to us, that we're able to travel to different parts of the world as what we are used to. So when you're talking about Islamic tourism, it's always about normally our understanding is always about travel to Muslim countries doing religious activities. So this is actually the site of Masjidil Haram in Mecca, doing the Hajj. And every year Saudi Arabia receive about 2 to 4 million pilgrims doing Hajj, in addition to Umrah that is open year round. But now we notice that even our Minister of Health, YBKJ, just recently announced that all those Umrah packages will be suspended from 8th of January, starting from tomorrow until further notice, because of this Omicron. And it has been recorded that more than 60% of those infected by Omicron were actually those pilgrims that just returned from Umrah. So this is actually this is actually Vatican City. This is the congregation of the Christian people. This is where the resident of Pope John Paul, in Italy. And this is actually, if you notice, in the Middle East, in Arab countries, there have been many sites that actually relate to the Islamic civilization. For example, this is actually the cave of the seven sleepers in Jordan, in actually located in Amman, the capital of Jordan. So where the cave is actually mentioned in Surah Al-Kahfi. Um, tujuh sahabat ni dalam dalam gua tu, they slept for hundred of years in surah that was mentioned in surah Al-Kahfi. And the top button is actually where is the background of Dead Sea. So this is where mention about Umat Lut, where the what they were buried in this location. And there have been quite a number of um, um, sites related to religion in Jordan, in Yemen, in Syria, in Saudi, and in Egypt, and so on. So nevertheless, as I mentioned earlier on, when you talk about Islamic tourism, the term itself is new. In academic literature, as mentioned, not even 20 years. So the term is new. So there is potential for you students to explore more about Islamic tourism, because there might be like different topics, subtopics under Islamic tourism that you can explore, especially for your dissertation, for your final year project, if you intend to pursue your master degree or your PhD. I mean, for example, you can explore about halal tourism, Muslim friendly tourism, Sharia compliant hotel, and for example. So due to the new term, so what constitute Islamic tourism in terms of concept are not well understood in the academic literature. It's still being debated. So their attributes and the impact on tourist needs are not well understood, because there are still new. And now you notice that the current debate tends to focus on Muslim-friendly destination, halal tourism, and Sharia-compliant accommodation services. Just to share with you that in November last year, just like barely 2 months ago, Islamic Tourism Center of Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Arts on Tourism, they organized a World Islamic Tourism Conference where I was invited as one of the speakers, and we highlighted that as of now, one of the issues facing Islamic tourism in Malaysia, it is not yet seen as a sector. Unlike, for example, rural tourism, unlike ecotourism, and so on. For example, like ecotourism itself, it has national ecotourism plan. Rural tourism in Malaysia, they have rural tourism master plan. So, like, in fact, like Islamic tourism is not yet seen as a sector. So it's still fragmented, and I mean, what constitute Islamic tourism products in Malaysia are not well organized. So that's why uh, we tend to focus on services rather than the product themselves. And the term has been used interchangeably, Islamic tourism and halal tourism, Islamic tourism and Muslim-friendly tourism, for example. Why it is so? Argument has always been like, for example, if you use the word Islamic tourism, it seems to be very much religious, and it will not be so receptive to the non-Muslim communities. And for example, like in the case of Malaysia, most of our tourist suppliers, for example, hoteliers, travel agencies, and so on, they are non-Muslim, so they prefer to use the word that is actually more friendly. That's why they use the term Muslim friendly halal tourism as opposed to Islamic tourism. But supposedly Islamic tourism should be the umbrella of all the sub sectors underneath. Okay, this is actually the issues, as I mentioned earlier on. There have been many terms used: halal tourism, Muslim friendly tourism, Islamic hospitality, halal travel, Muslim tourism. So the term itself is quite confusing. They tend to overlap between one another. But the most important that I would like highlight to you is that nowadays that this Islamic tourism market is not only positioned by Muslim countries like Malaysia and Indonesia especially, but even the non-Muslim countries have been trying to capture this Islamic this Muslim market. Like for example, in the east part of the world, for example, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, yeah, even Australia, for example. Okay, I mentioned earlier on that Islamic tourism, they have different names, different typologies, and there are many components under Islamic tourism. For example, halal hotel, halal transport, halal food premises, tour packages, and halal finance. Okay, in general, when we talk about Islam as a religion, we are not opposed to tourism. But in terms of policy, and in terms of this international tourism, is adversely affected by poor relation between Western and Islamic nation. It's always been the media that always propagate that. For example, they always associate Islam with terrorism. They always associate Islam with extremism, and Islam with poverty and so on. So that's why when you talk about Islamic tourism, especially in the West, people they have this like Islamophobia sentiments toward Islam, towards Muslim, and so on. So did this happen especially during the um, September 11, 2001. That was like 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when this World Trade Center was hit by this aeroplane, that actually the corner the mast the what we call the cornerstone, that actually created the Islamophobia among the Western communities towards Islam. And that's when we noticed that the pattern of travel among the Muslim market, especially from the affluent travelers in the Middle East, instead of traveling to Europe, to America, for example, before September 11, now they shifted their travel preference more towards Far East, especially to Malaysia. Malaysia has always been the first point, or their starting point to explore the Far East. After that, they will explore the different countries in the region. So this is what you see, Islamophobia in America, in Europe, especially in Western Europe. And this is what happened to one tourist in France, a Muslim tourist, where she was forced to remove hijab, and because of this Islamophobia sentiment. And we notice, in, for example, now in Denmark, in Germany, several mosques have been forced to close by the authorities and so on. So, as I mentioned earlier on, developing countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, for example, our stand on management of tourism and Islam is always to satisfy international visitors. So, what I'm trying to say is that you have these commercial objectives, which is to maximize income, revenue, but at the same time, you want to provide the leisure environment as demanded by the tourists. But sometimes those objectives actually tend to take precedence over the religious consideration. So I give you a simple analogy to it. For example, this is actually Malaysia Airline. Malaysia Airline is a national airline of Malaysia. Is owned by the government, um, um, and although it is privatized, um, but you see, but the airline is still offering is still serving alcohol on board. So why this is so, despite like many criticism against Malaysia Airline that they shouldn't be serving alcohol, because there is un-Islamic, but according to Malaysia Airline, this is important because they are serving passengers, their customers of different market, Muslim, non-Muslim. So this is what I'm trying to emphasize to you, that sometime between the commercial objective as well as religious consideration, always the commercial objective take the precedent. Okay. Why now Malaysia is positioning Islamic tourism to be one of its prominent niche market, but it soon is going to be the mainstream, because one, Islam is the world fastest growing religion, and by 2050, which is like another 30 years from now, it will constitute 30 30% of the world population, and it will be the religious religion in the world, and it will outnumber those of Christian. And you notice from the graph here that beyond 2050, Muslim will outnumber Christian. So it will be the largest religion in the world. So there are many contributing factors to it. One of it is that um, you notice that Muslim, as compared to other religion, they have the highest population growth rate, which means that they have more, they have higher number of children in their families as compared to those in other religion, those from Christian, Chinese, Indian, for example. So that is one factor. Secondly, is that um, um, the median age, the median, for example, the average age of Muslim are relatively young. So they are actually younger population in terms of median age as compared to other religions. So when they are younger, so they are actually more productive in terms of this population growth. And when they are younger, they tend to travel more. And furthermore, that in like 1 or 2 decades from now, this more Muslim countries will enter into the middle income countries. So which means that they have more tendency to travel, they have more propensity to travel because they earn more income. As of now, we notice, for example, beside those in the Middle East, for example, those in Central Asia, those in Africa, so they will become, they will enter into the middle income bracket. So they will travel more in future. So that actually will facilitate the growth of Islamic tourism in future. And furthermore, if you notice that um, in Western countries, for example, in Europe and in America, Islam is the biggest religion among the minorities. So Muslim community has been like constitute the largest minority group in most Western countries. Even now, if you go to UK, you will not you will always notice Muslim communities everywhere. Even for example, in London, there have been more mosques being built, and many years in UK, they are now Muslim. And some localities, for example, like some municipality, I noticed, for example, there is one town very near to Heathrow Airport in West London, which is called Slough. So like 30% of the population are now considered Muslim. So I mean, for example, there have been like many cities in UK, for example, like Bradford, Leeds, for example, Birmingham. So they are actually cities in UK, but you will notice they actually a large, sizable Muslim communities in those cities. So that actually will propel Islamic tourism in future. So okay, so due to this, Islamic tourism will be a huge potential market. That's why Malaysia is now positioning itself to be the top Islamic tourism destination in the world. But in terms of global revenue, as of now, it's only 10%. So Malaysia has always been voted as the world's top Muslim-friendly destination by DINA standard, by Crescent rating, by this Global Muslim Travel Index. And if I'm not mistaken, for 11 years in a row, that Malaysia has always been top in this Global Muslim Travel Index. So this is actually the concentration of the Muslim countries. So you notice in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia, but you have those in the Northern Africa, which are predominantly Muslim countries, for example, like Morocco, Libya, Algeria, Egypt, Tunisia, for example. And you have those in the Middle East, for example, Saudi, Jordan, Oman, Qatar, Jordan, Egypt, Turkey. And you have those in Central Asia, like those in those Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, all these Tantan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and also in Even in Russia also, they have a large percentage of Muslim communities. But not to forget these two most populous countries in the world, for example, China and India. Although, like for example, China, they are predominantly Buddhist, and India, they are predominantly Hindus. But for example, India with 1.3 billion population, 10% of India's population are Muslim. So which means that there are about 130 million Muslim population in India, which is like 4 times larger than the whole population of Malaysia. So basically, the potential of Islamic tourism globally is very huge. This is in terms of the spending. So let me show you in the Global Muslim Travel Index what are the criteria that they are measuring. So they are measuring in terms of the access, in terms of our visa requirement, connectivity, transport infrastructure. They also access in terms of communication, in terms of the environment, safety, visitor arrival, enabling climate, and also in terms of the services. Services in terms of the food establishment, in terms of the prayer facilities, and so on, hotel services. So all together combined, so that's how they come up with this ranking. And this is the latest ranking, Global Muslim Travel Index 2021 ranking, that Malaysia was the top country globally with 80 points, followed by Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Emirates. So we have been in this top rank for if I'm not mistaken, for 11 years in a row. So um, and this is actually travel readiness indicators among the top OIC destination in this Global Muslim Travel Index. So Malaysia was slightly lower as compared to Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. This is actually due to the COVID-19. Although we are top in terms of the ranking, but in terms of readiness, because now our border is still not open. As of now, we only have this VTL, vaccinated travel lane, only with Singapore. But as of now, even the VTL was already suspended due to this Omicron. So, so this is actually how Malaysia is positioned. Discover Malaysia, the Muslim-friendly destination, is very popular among Arab tourists from the Middle East to Malaysia. And in the past, you notice there are some favorite destination among the Arab travelers. When they come to Malaysia, they always come to Kuala Lumpur, and then they go to Penang, they go to Langkawi. They have always been their favorite destination when they travel to Malaysia. So when you're talking about Islamic tourism, it's always the Islamic attribute that actually top our mind in terms of image. So they have been normally what we portray is actually our beautiful mosque. We have the Putra Mosque in Putrajaya. You have the top right, which is the Crystal Mosque in Kuala Terengganu. We have the Islamic Museum. We have this Taman Tamadun, Islamic Civilization Park in Kuala Terengganu. So there have been many factors affecting the decision of Muslim tourists if they want to travel to Malaysia. One of it, of course, the halal food, um, the Muslim-friendly experience, the hotel experience, choice of destination, dining, and so on. So, as I mentioned earlier on, what are the drivers of Muslim travel market globally? The growing Muslim population, as I mentioned earlier on, the growing middle class and disposable income of these Muslim travelers, and as I mentioned, that this Muslim market, Muslim population, they are relatively younger as compared to other religion. When you are young, just like you students, you tend to travel more, and now with the access to information at your fingertip, so you can always travel your plan. And now you see that there have been a lot of these MFT services and facilities. Even for example, like in Japan now, they 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 have like halal restaurant. They provide for example, a prayer room for the convenience of the Muslim travelers when they travel to Japan. So this is the key profile in Muslim travel market. this is actually extracted from the Global Muslim Travel Index. So what I'm trying to highlight to you is that um, Muslim travelers, they have three categories. One is actually the strictly practicing Muslim, which is about 20%. The bulk of them is actually 60% of them are practicing Muslim, but we have another 20% of less practicing Muslim. So which means that the 80% of Muslim travelers, those that are strictly practicing Muslim and practicing Muslim, so when they travel, they still want to enjoy the leisure and recreation, but at the same time, they want to adhere to the principle of Islam, to the faith. For example, when they travel, they still want to eat halal food. They as much they want to perform the daily prayers. So um, that's why this is where the suppliers should be concerned with their uh, um, um, with their travel patterns and their needs. So that's why we are providing halal food. We have this bidet in hotel in the bathroom to make sure that it's easier for them to take wudu, for example. And but nevertheless, among the OIC countries, there have been like quite a few challenges of this MFT growth. One of them is security concern, because some Muslim countries in the world, they are politically unstable. Example like those in Middle East, in Central Asia, for example, those in Iraq, those in Syria, Yemen, for example. So those are Muslim countries, but they are not politically stable. So because unsafe destination, normally they deter away tourists from coming, and lack of proper outlets. They may have a halal outlet, but because of their certification is not centralized, unlike Malaysia, where our certification is always endorsed by JAKIM, and sometimes their government, they don't really support the growth of this Muslim friendly tourism in their countries. And it is always been increased competition from non-OIC countries, and as I mentioned earlier on, Islamophobia and resistance from some travel stakeholders to develop MFT. This is actually particularly true in Malaysia, for example, because some of our hoteliers, for example, like 90% of hoteliers in hotels in Malaysia are owned by non-Muslim. So sometimes they are a bit skeptical to, for example, to promote Muslim services in their premises. And some OIC countries, they have limited air connectivity, limited availability of attraction. That's how Malaysia has always top among the OIC countries globally. So when you're talking about Islamic tourism, it's always about also halal tourism. uh, this term has always been used interchangeably. The halal market is actually growing, and you notice, for example, in UK, many of the franchise, especially the food franchise, are actually serving halal ingredient, because there have been sizable Muslim communities in UK, not only among the residents but also among tourists coming uh, to UK. So this is actually the certification of halal in different countries, and but some countries, they have very much uniform logo. For example, in Malaysia, we always use the logo certified by JAKIM. But some countries that we visited, that they have different logos, so that actually can confuse the customers. um, um, and some of them, they may not have like certification bodies, but they always do them. The premise owners do the certification themselves. So among the subsector of Islamic tourism is about as I mentioned earlier on about Sharia compliant hotel. So these are among the hotel in Malaysia that are actually fully Sharia compliant. If you can name some of the hotel, for example, Di Palma PNB Hotel, you know, the one in near Jalan Ampang, near the Twin Tower. You also have this Grand Blue Wave. In Langkawi, you have the Adia Hotel. Previously, you have the Tabung Haji Hotel, but now it is changed to Raya Hotel. So these are actually some of the hotels that are actually fully Sharia compliant. So what does it mean by fully Sharia compliant? They don't serve alcohol, um, and normally they have certain facilities. I give you example, in Raya Hotel, in Tabung Haji Hotel, especially in Kuala Terengganu, they segregate the swimming pool between the male and female. So the female swimming pool is very is actually is not open, is not open to male. The male swimming pool is open, where whereas the female swimming pool is very much enclosed in a building. For example, like Grand Blue Wave in Shah Alam, one of the special feature of the hotel is that they have this 17th floor. Floor 17 of the hotel is designated for female travelers only. So men are not allowed to stay in that floor. 17th floor is only meant for female travelers, female guests. So for example, if you happen to be female travelers and if you want to order room service, for example, the room service must be served by female staff of the hotel. And most of the hotel, when they are Sharia compliant, even the female staff, the frontliners, the front guest, reception, the female staff, they wear hijab. They are compulsory to wear hijab. So these are actually some of the attributes of Sharia compliant hotel by different authors, by this Kadir Din, by this Hashim, different authors, Henderson, and so on. So this is what I mentioned to you, Grand Blue Wave Shah Alam, and they have this Crescent rating, and it's the only 5-star hotel in Southeast Asia accredited with the highest halal friendly rating. The Grand Blue Wave. If you have opportunity, maybe you can go to this Grand Blue Wave in Shah Alam. So even in other countries, for example, Indonesia, even in Japan, and this is actually in UAE, in Dubai-based Al Mula Hospitality Group. They actually to tap into the growing Muslim market, and they want to open a number of like mentioned here, 150 properties worldwide, um, of this Sharia compliant hotel. So this is actually another Sharia compliant hotel. It's located in Fujitsu. It's actually at the bottom of this Mount Fuji. It's owned by Japanese, but the Japanese already converted to Islam, um, and he in fact operate a Muslim, a Sharia compliant hotel in Japan. So it's amazing to see that even like countries like Japan, predominantly um, non-Muslim country, but they buy the idea and they see the opportunity of tapping this Muslim travel market. So I would like to conclude by saying that Islamic tourism and MFT promotes a deeper appreciation of Islam and its civilization, by having this good understanding about what Islam, what constitutes Islamic tourism, Muslim-friendly tourism, so it can stimulate understanding between the world cultures of different types and civilization that will be essential to world peace. As I mentioned earlier on, as of now, we notice that Islamic tourism is a niche tourism market in Malaysia and in the world, but I can foresee like in another 10 or 20 years from now, it will be a mainstream tourism market and it will become dominant. This is where we should be ready to capture the and this this growing market, and hopefully that few years from now, we will be having like Islamic tourism master plan at the national level, so that we can have more organized product and activities to be executed at different level, at the state and at the local level. So with that, thank you for your listening. To my presentation. This is actually just an overview, just a snapshot. Actually, the topic covers a wide array of subtopics to be discussed. But as of now, I think they will be sufficient for you to have just a general understanding of what constitutes Islamic tourism. So thank you to all, and back to you, moderator, Mr. Zul, to
Okay.
represent.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Fuad, for the sharing on Islamic tourism. So actually, I did not know that Islamic tourism also attract non-Muslim, as mentioned by one of our viewers in the comment section here, that Islamic tourism is extensively promoted in China as well, and as mentioned by Prof, that Japan market it as well. The 9/11 event has surely changed how the world views Islam in general, and hopefully with the emergence of this type of tourism can spread the beautiful truth about the religion. It's very promising to hear that more people will facilitate Islamic tourism in the future due to the growth population. So before that, please allow me to next, I have a couple of questions for our speaker. Before that, please allow me to introduce him. I introduce you guys our second speaker, TPR Dr. Jamil Jusof, or synonymous with the nickname we as a student call him Dr. JJ, and he is a registered town planner and has been practicing since 1985. He also has been involved with the lecturing since 2002, beginning with USM, especially for master in tourism and master in urban planning until 2019. Prior to becoming a lecturer, Dr. JJ also worked with the developers, which is Uda Holdings Berhad, for 15 years. But before that, he also served with Penang City Council and Land Survey Department of Police. His area of interest and expertise are infrastructure tourism, adventure tourism, and island tourism. Dear Dr. JJ, my question to you is, in the latest trends in the tourism industry globally, what does Malaysia need to do to sustain this generating economic sector? In your opinion, Dr. JJ, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zul. Can you hear me or not?
Yeah, sure, I can.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be the guest speaker. Assalamualaikum dan selamat petang. And also thank you to Prof. Fuad, my colleague in USM before. So with regards to your questions, I would like to focus on the what will happen, especially after the COVID-19. Where are our target? Where are our focus? Okay, just now Dr. Fuad mentioned about the emergence of Islamic tourism. It's part of the sector in tourism, no doubt about it. But I notice as a researcher, as a consultant, and as a lecturer, there are few things Malaysia should do to move forward. So we can't just follow the old trends. Globally, the trends are moving very fast. As you know, tourism industry is a moving industry. Okay, it's never stops and it's always change. Okay, can I share slides for a while? Okay. So I will control the slides. Okay. So this is about. So I noticed that Malaysia or the government of Malaysia should do something about it very fast. So these are the 5 areas I noticed that Malaysia or the government of Malaysia or the people of Malaysia or the entrepreneurs or the stakeholders should focus. 5 main areas. Okay, number 1 is about you go for domestic tourism. You don't rely on international tourism. You go for domestic tourism. And secondly, try to capture the new travel groups. These are the new emergence in global trends, in global travel. New types of travel groups. The youth travel, the family travel, and of course the new European and Asian market. These are the old groups with age between 60 and above. And these are the groups who are very, very rich, and of course they have ample time. And of course, the hobby is travel. That's why they can spend and they travel a lot. And the third emphasis should be upgrade the and popularize special interest tourism. This is another new trend in Malaysia. And what I'm talking here is we try to upgrade, we try to promote Malaysian tourism. So I'm not talking about how we're going to for overseas tourism, but Malaysian tourism. So these are the few things I noticed. Go for adventure tourism, sports tourism, and creative tourism. This is the new trends in tourism. And the fourth one is support the young entrepreneurs in tourism. You've noticed that many young entrepreneurs, many young guys who just graduate from Master's in Tourism, graduate in Urban Planning, graduate in tourism or hospitality, they go for to become entrepreneur. So these are the rooms or the area that they can venture to. Number 1 is the adventure and sports, and number 2, of course, accommodations. And number 5, through my research for the last 15 years, I noticed that there's a lot of tourism products in Malaysia that's been hidden. It's not been explored. So this should be the jobs of the Ministry of Tourism, of course, the researcher too and the consultant too. They should explore this kind of very potential products in Malaysia. So I put into 2 parts: the traditional Malay product and the creative tourism products. So these are the 2 groups that Malaysia should foresee and should move forward. Okay. So this is before we try to accomplish or to get all these objectives. These are a few things that we should some analysis. Okay, not to say the government, also the stakeholders, the players, the entrepreneurs. So we should identify what are the international tourist movement now. What are the patterns? Just now the Tafat said, tourists from Middle East are coming to Malaysia and Asia. Same times now, tourists from Asia is not anymore going to the Middle East. They're going to somewhere very cool place, UK, Europe. There's a new trend. Then assess how tourism demand varies across region, which means every region have their own specialty, their own experts, their own integrity, their own identity. So every region have their own special things. Okay, you don't deny Malaysia. Malaysia, of course, have a lot of things. That's why after this, I will touch what will happen. Should we compete or should we share with some other product in Asia, in Southeast Asian countries? We have the same product in Asia, in Malaysia, in Vietnam, in Indonesia. But anyway, we have to tackle the same tourist group. We have to tackle the same audience. So how are we going to do that? Then, of course, number 4, number 3, try to why they travel to this kind of places. There must be a reason. Okay, there must be a reason. Then the travel patterns of tourists, which mean, for example, when they travel to Malaysia, they come to direct to the town or the city areas, or they go direct to the island. My research I noticed that most of the tourists in Malaysia, when they arrive in Malaysia, they never go to the island. They just arrive in Kuala Lumpur. Then after that, they should just fly direct to Bangkok. So what happened to our islands? Are they been hidden? Are they not been noticed? Okay, then this destination selections. This is very important. This is what the government should do. So where's the best selection? The destinations, they have their own image, they have their own positioning image. They have own position. Of course, we know we have the 5 islands in Malaysia: Joman Island, Pontian Island, Redang, Langkawi. They're very positioned themselves. But what happened to some new islands? They have the potential, but we just didn't explore them. Then the activities, then the groups, the tourist groups, which one we tackle? I've mentioned just now, there are several groups. They're moving very fast now. The youth groups and the family groups are traveling. Okay? Then activities and destination. What should we provide at destination? Do we have enough facilities? Do we have enough infrastructure? Okay? So these are the few, you notice from the slides here, the image. These are the actual focus trend 1950 to 2030. But of course, due to COVID-19, anything cannot be fulfilled. Okay, so different thing happens now. So because of this phenomena, so we have to do something. Okay, so this is what I'm talking. Capture the new travel groups. Try to capture this group. The youth travel, family, and new European groups. These are the groups who travel, who has the money, who has the time, and who we can say that they are committed to travel. So when they committed to travel, they spend money. So when they spend money, it's income to our country. So we try to tackle these groups of tourists. So you notice that 80% of youth travel they use travel agencies. But nowadays, no more travel agencies. They can just book online. And 330 million youth travel nowadays. This figure was taken from Agoda to 2018. You just imagine 336 million youth travels. Then 25% of international tourists are youth travel. That means from the whole travel groups in the world, 25% is considered as very huge and big figure. Okay, so we should tackle this group. And of course, they spend a lot of money. So we in Malaysia, that's why I noticed we should tackle these groups of this segment of tourists. Okay, we never forget them. Then try to upgrade and popularize special interest tourism. This is another new trend. It's new emergence. Special interests are coming very fast. Singapore is moving very fast. Thailand is moving very fast. They just compete us. Vietnam is moving very fast, just as overtake us in creative tourism and special interest tourism. They have a lot of nature-based area. They have a lot of eco-tourism area. But we have these facilities, we have these assets of tourism, but didn't capitalize it. We didn't use it. So that's why I'm saying, go for these 3 groups: adventure tourism, sports tourism. We quite very unlucky. We just stopped F1, but this is the best income for Malaysia. I remember when we organized the F1, millions of tourists come to Malaysia. Okay. Then creative tourism. These are the groups: arts, busking, street arts, and heritage arts. Of course, where should we put this kind of proposal? Usually when we did our local plan, our structure plan, for example, structure plan of Kuala Lumpur 2040, local plan of Kuala Lumpur 2040, or special area plan for Taipei, for example, there is where we propose it. There is where we create it. There is where we inject this proposal. This is where you put in. Okay, this is where there is the rooms for proposal. Okay. Then supports the young entrepreneurs. Okay, these are the groups who bring money to us, who brings tourism back to us. If you notice, these are the group who usually now the young entrepreneurs. You look at the pictures here. This is our ex-students, Ajib, wearing the caps there. He has his own chalet. He has his own clubs, his own adventure groups. Okay, then the next one, personal holidays. This is Fairuz. This is our ex-student from MSc Tourism. So these are the young entrepreneurs. Give them support. The government should give them support, give them incentive, provide facilities for them. And these are the groups that, because young entrepreneurs will always tackle young travelers. They are in the same segment. So young travelers will always can accommodate with them. Kita rasa senang nak berbicara. They are the groups who know the character, the characteristic, the patterns of travel, the character and the behavior. These are the group who knows, and when you provide these facilities, they know how to tackle these tourists. So, and number 5, this is the final number 5, exploring the hidden tourism products. We never forget that we have a lot of tourism hidden products in Malaysia, especially the creative tourism. So research should be done. Of course, many universities have doing the research. USM have doing so many research. Consultancy have doing so many research. Local authorities are doing so many research and preparing plans. How to promote these products. When doing the special area plan for Taiping, this is where the rooms, we introduce new tourism products. This is where we promote them. We cannot just ignore them. Okay? You notice that this is a research I did in 2013 and 2014, exploring the traditional Malay product in Malacca. We noticed there's lots of potentials. Okay. Mr. Nasir, Mr. Rosli, and Mr. Zul, these are the 3 entrepreneurs that produce this kind of product. However, they should compete their product with the incoming barang tiruan daripada luar, daripada Indonesia, from Indonesia, okay, from Thailand. They have to compete with them. That's the problem. So the government should do some incentives, should give some support to them to compete. Because I'm holding the crease there. This crease costs around 2,000 ringgit. Okay, I'm holding the crease there. 2,000. However, if you go to the local market, you go to along the streets in Malacca, they're selling just for 30 ringgit. So that is the dilemma the practitioner have to face. They are doing the original one, but the craze from Indonesia, from Thailand, okay, they just sold at around 30 ringgit. So we can explore our product. So that is very bad. Of course, we have many other potentials. And of course, the best thing the government should do, try to market them. Give them promotion, help them to market. Okay, help them to market. Of course, these entrepreneurs, they just produce the product. When come to the second part, marketing promotion, they fail. They don't know what to do. Okay, so I think that's answer the first parts of your question, Zul. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Dr. JJ, for the great sharing. For those of you who will be the future key player in the tourism industry, let us all capitalize on the 3 categories of tourism, which is sport, adventure, and creative. I really have to admit that I am now very optimistic on how the tourism industry, especially in Malaysia, contribute to the economy moving forward. Since I noticed that there are many questions in the comment section, we will now move to the Q&A section. So I got the question from the first question from Suhaidi Mahasan. He stated in the comment, Prof. Fuad, regarding Islamic and Halal Tourism in relation to planning and development, what we can plan or improve in the future in the Malaysian context. So I'll pass to you, Prof. Fuad, to answer the question.
Okay, thank you for the question. As I mentioned earlier on, as of now at the national level, we don't have Islamic tourism master plan yet. That is supposed to be initiated by the Ministry of Tourism, and we may propose through ITC that we should have one very much soon. So what this is required as of now, when we talk about tourism, it's always about um, travel, for example, to mosque. I mean, if tourists come to Malaysia, um, if they want to engage in Islamic tourism or Muslim friendly, it's always about visiting masjid or visiting mosque. But most of the time, Islamic tourism in terms of the activities are mostly in services, not much in terms of product development. So it's timely that we should the different stakeholders, the tourism suppliers, should come up with what are the products required to be promoted, and not necessarily must be Islamic activities. For example, if you travel to nature, for example, it can be considered in the broader context as part of Islamic tourism as well, because Islamic tourism, in terms of definition, is very much universal. It does not necessarily have to be confined to Islamic activities and services per se. So it should be broadened. So actually, there should be more product to be developed in Malaysia, in different states, in order for us to promote this Islamic tourism. Okay, Zul.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Fuad, for answering the question from the Suhaidi Masan. So, without further delay, we will continue to the next question. Actually, we continue the second question for Dr. JJ. Since as you mentioned on the first question, do you think Malaysia will be able to compete with the other countries, especially in Southeast Asia or other parts of the world, particularly in some selected tourism sector? What do you think, Dr. JJ?
I think I want to share some slides, Zul. It's okay for you?
Okay, sure.
Give me 1 minute to share the slides. As a guest, you can upload up to slide checks. Please log in and give up for free upload. So dia tak bagi saya upload.
Oh,
So
I think
right.
yeah, you still cannot wait.
Boleh saya hantar dalam WhatsApp dan tu you share. Boleh Zul?
Sure. I try.
WhatsApp Husni punya WhatsApp. Husni, I share the slides. Share dalam slides Siti Husni ya. Then you just okay.
Okay. Wait ya.
Dapat?
We were waiting for Husni. Okay.
Saya guna email WhatsApp nama Husni.
Okay.
Bukan dalam group.
Okay. Wait ya. Doktor. Amira will sharing the.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So
So-
with regards to your questions, do we compete or share between Malaysia and other Asian countries dalam promoting our tourism products? Okay, hold on. Okay, this is the question. Okay, you hold on this for the first slides. Who's controlling the slides now? Amira. Husni. Okay, for the first slides. So I try to compare apa yang Malaysia boleh buat, what Malaysia can do to compete with these Asian countries, because we have the same product. Okay, ecotourism kita ada, nature-based tourism kita ada hutan, kita ada forest, highlands development, all the same. Malaysia too have, Bali also have, Indonesia ada, Thailand ada, Vietnam ada. So we have to compete with them. So we have to compete with the same group of tourists. So the same demand, but different supply. Okay. So what we do, yes, the next slides. So this, as I mentioned just now, we try to tackle these groups. These groups of tourists, the emerging Europe and Asian tourists, they are the group, you tengok tu yang merah tu, the red groups tu. The senior travelers, the disability travelers, solo travelers, and in fact LGBT pun ada join. Families with older children and single parents, millennial. These are the groups yang kita nampak are traveling now. Okay, so through the research, I noticed that most of the European tourists will go to only 2 countries. Okay, very sadly, they like to go to Thailand. Okay, Malaysia is the second choice. The first is Thailand, Malaysia second, and of course, if they want to go for urban tourism, they go to Singapore. Then after that, we'll go to Cambodia. Then after that, we go to Vietnam. So we are second. Okay, so what we should have and what we shouldn't have. So we notice that Malaysia have everything. Tapi malang sekali sekarang, what we have, our nature has been exploited and been destroyed. Semalam dalam news orang Kelantan minta, mengapa tidak ini kawasan-kawasan balak dijadikan ecotourism. Oh, pandai orang Kelantan, jadikan ecotourism. Nature tourism, tak pernah dengar Kelantan bagi idea. That's from the public. That's why nature tourism is very, very potential in our countries. Okay, that's why kita zonekan kawasan-kawasan tu to have specialized for this nature-based tourism. So zoning is very important. Okay, the forestry, forest zoning, heritage zoning is very important, just to control the inappropriate development. Okay, next slide. So this is the country. Notice that international tourist arrival in Southeast Asian countries. Of course, Thailand nombor 1, Malaysia nombor 2. Okay, then Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia. Kita sikit-sikit lagi. So Malaysia is number 2 because Thailand have number 1 cities, Bangkok, the city of smiles. Kita tak ada sini. Kita sini city Malaysia marah saja, panah baran dia orang dia. Okay, tapi Thailand city of smiles. That's why they like to go to Thailand. Macam mana kita nak compete? So we have to follow their steps, their strategies. No doubt lebih. Tapi kita masalah sekarang traffic jams lah di Kuala Lumpur. Okay, next slides. So these are the products we have. We have a lot of products. Tengok sama juga. Apa yang ada kat Kamera Halal, ada kat Chiang Mai. Apa yang ada dekat Kuala Lumpur ada dekat Bangkok. Okay. Apa yang ada dekat Putrajaya ada dekat Minam Chao Phraya River. Sama. The water-based tourism. We have in Putrajaya, but we also have in Bangkok. Halal Tourism, you have in Cameron Highland, but they also have Chiang Queen Sirikit parks. Very nice. We have also in Taman Botani. Okay. Tapi Taman Botani kita jam, tak boleh masuk. Okay. So that is the difference. We have the products, but we did not capitalize the product. That is our heritage assets. So dalam most of our rancangan tempatan, local plans and special area plans, we try to rejuvenate, we try to upgrade, we try to revitalize balik kita punya nature yang ada. Our assets, especially our heritage assets. Okay. I think that is what answering your Zul. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. JJ, for answering the question. So I think we will proceed to the maybe the last question from we will see from Dr. Sharina. Prof Puat, what is your take on Muslim friendly versus Sharia compliant concept? Because some says that they prefer the term Muslim friendly as not to offend the non-Muslim visitor. So I will pass to the Dr. Puat to answer the comment question. Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, that supposedly for a sector, Islamic tourism should be the sector. So this is what we have highlighted to the Ministry of Tourism. But in terms of marketing, for example, even at ministry level, at ITC, they always use the term Muslim friendly as opposed to Islamic tourism, because when we use the term Islamic tourism, it sounds so religious. And it will not be so receptive to the non-Muslim community. So that's why we use Muslim-friendly tourism or Muslim-friendly travel. And you notice that whenever they have packages, especially among the non-Muslim countries like in Japan, in Korea, in China, and in Hong Kong, Australia, for example, they always use this halal travel package or Muslim friendly packages because it sounds more receptive and sounds so welcoming to the and Muslim communities. But in general, as a sector, it should be the bigger umbrella should be Islamic tourism. That's how we should be. We should promote it and we should position it. But underneath it will be like this Muslim-friendly, halal tourism, Sharia compliant services, and so on. Okay, Chezul?
Okay, thank you for the answer again, Prof. Puat. So I would like to thank our speaker for very fruitful sharing. Actually, it's not easy to have Professor Puat and Dr. Jamil to spend their time in their busy schedule. So I think we're very lucky to have them today. Hopefully, we will have more opportunity to have them again with us in the future. I must say I myself have learned so much today about Islamic tourism, and especially how we can capitalize the industry, particularly in Malaysia. Moving forward, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed too. Thank you everyone. Stay safe, and thank you for our viewers that comment in the Facebook comment section we have a surprise today as our as our appreciation for your participant in today's webinar by asking the question. Our team will contact you for the cash giveaway. And again, thank you. We see you guys in the future.
Uni KL, kita datang. Uni KL, jadi cemerlang. Universiti Kuala Lumpur mercu tanda pendidikan MARA. Sertai kami bagi pengambilan ke program persediaan diploma, ijazah dan pasca siswaza hari ini. Layari unikl.edu.my, where knowledge is applied and dreams realized.